Peace and welcome to the culture here on the Black Star Network. I'm your host, Farajii. Thank you so much for tuning in and being a part of the conversation. Folks, we got a dynamic show for you. First and foremost, let's talk a little bit about what's happening as we are talking about the work of empowering Black America, what the White House and the United States government is doing under the Biden administration. There are going to be two projects, two initiatives, folks, I want us to have a conversation about so we can have this discussion. Also, later on, we check in with our resident doctor, Dr. Bridget, for this week's Reclaim Your Wellness. She's going to talk to us about the latest developments in curing sickle cell. We're going to talk to her about that. Also, we gotta talk to her about how sad music can actually make you feel better. That's going to be interesting. So we got that and a whole lot more. Stay with us. Join us in the conversation, streaming live right now on YouTube under Roland Martin. We would love to have you as part of our online culture crew. And of course, stay tuned. We got a lot to get to on today's edition of The Culture right here on the Black Star Network. Let's go. All right, folks, welcome to the culture here on the Black Star Network. I'm your host, Farajii. Thank you so much for joining us for today's show. And we truly appreciate y'all for checking in all across the country as we streaming live on a number of different platforms. But I just wanted to say thank you, and I hope you have a great weekend. Happy Monday. All right, folks, we're streaming on our homepage. First, let's start off with blackstarnetwork.com. That's where you can find all of the latest shows, all of the dope content, all of the fantastic interviews that Brother Roland has been doing. And of course, we've been celebrating the great life and legacy of our dear brother who played that phenomenal character of Shaft, Brother Richard Roundtree. We have been streaming that conversation in that honor and tribute that Brother Roland did as well. So make sure y'all check us out on blackstarnetwork.com, blackstarnetwork.com. Also, we're streaming on Amazon. On your Amazon Fire TV, you can find us there, and on Amazon, on our Amazon News on your Fire TV, and on Prime Video, you can find us there. Find us on the Prime Video app under Live TV, then go to News, or find us on Amazon.com under Prime Video, then go to Live TV, then go to News. We're also streaming on Freevee as well, so just find us under On Now, then you go to News, and boom, Black Star Network shows up. And we're also you can find us on Plex TV, where we are streaming 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Now, also on the social media side, let's talk about Facebook. We're streaming there. Make sure y'all do your due diligence and check us out there. And of course, we are streaming on YouTube when you go to Roland Martin's YouTube page. And that's where you find the illustrious culture crew. That's right, that fantastic group of folks. I don't call them fans. This is the crew. This is where we have those conversations. You are the people that are not just speculating and just being a spectator. I want you to join me in having these conversations, because a lot of things are happening, but how many places actually ask you the question, well, what do you think? How do you feel about this? So this is the illustrious culture crew where we have those dynamic conversations. Let's do a quick roll call. Can we get a little horns on the roll call, please? Let's do some roll call with my culture crew. Big shout out to my pastor, Pastor Damon Blissett, always joining us. And he is in charge of the block churches. You come in here with some nonsense on the chat, trust and believe, Pastor Damon Blissett will check you G-style. Also, Deidre Hall, good connecting with you once again. Tiana, hey, Tiana, thank you so much for checking. And Tiana, I hope you had a great weekend. I hope you did. I really do. I hope you did. Cindy D, thank you so much for checking in. Miss Pauline Hurt checking in as well. Pauline, hope you had a great weekend, and Cindy as well. My man, Real Brooklyn, hey, what's happening, y'all? What's happening, Real Brooklyn? Thank you once again. Real Brooklyn's been dropping some jewels over these past few conversations. You're trying to be the MVP of the chat. I hear you, Real Brooklyn, David. Nicole Smith. Nicole, thank you so much for joining us. I love hearing what you got to say, and I look forward to what you got to say today. Robin Welch, my sister, you said happy Monday, culture crew. Good to be here with my good people. And it's so good to be with you, Robin. Thank you so much, ABX girl. Hey, oh, she said hi, all. Hi, ABX girl. The ABX girl. I like calling her ABX girl, but she's the ABX girl. So thank you so much for tuning in. And folks, more folks are streaming in, are coming into the chat, and make sure y'all jump into the conversations as well. All right, folks, can we talk about what's happening with Black America, as we always do? But this is something I thought that might be interesting for the conversation. More importantly, I wanted to include you into this discussion as we talk a little bit about the work that is being done or has started to empower Black America. And I'm speaking of what's going on with the president and the vice president. We're going to talk a little bit about that. So look, let's take a quick pause. When we come forward, let's talk about, I'm going to share with you two initiatives that the Biden-Harris administration has put forth to try to bring some level of equity, some sense of sanity, and more importantly, some sense of inclusiveness when it comes to Black America. So we're going to have the conversation about two projects. I want to get your take on it, folks. So stay with us. We're just getting started right here on The Culture on the Black Star Network.
Black Star Network is here.
Oh, no punch!
I'm real revolutionary right now.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, this difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig? When you talk about blackness and what happens in Black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it. This is about covering us. Invest in Black-owned media. Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks. We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind 100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible. Checks and money orders go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland at RolandSMartin.com.
All right, folks, welcome back to The Culture here on the Black Star Network. I'm your host, Farajii Muhammad. All right, let me just start off this conversation as we talk about what the Biden-Harris administration is doing, the work that they're doing to empower Black America. Because I felt like over the weekend, there have been two big things that have come up across the radar for me. And I was like, you know what, let me put this forth on the show, getting thoughts, right? We're getting thoughts around this. So today, the first part of the show is going to be focused on, let's get our thoughts about these two ideas, these two initiatives, and then we'll see where we stand with things. The first one is something that we actually been streaming here on Black Star Network. This is if you haven't had a chance to check it out, you should check it out. And I know sometimes, you know, we get feeds directly from the White House. So some of these things that you're seeing, like the meetings and stuff, it comes across like C-SPAN, but it's like real government or real things that are happening, which is so important now because we don't need second, third hand information. We just need to know what the facts are about a given situation. So this one thing that we've streamed is this beginning stages of the Presidential Advisory Committee for Black Americans. If you haven't had a chance to take a look at what that is all about, that's something that I think that we should all kind of at least be informed of. The Presidential Advisory Committee for Black Americans. This is actually a committee that was started earlier this year in April. But they finally, of course, it takes some time to kind of get people's names and all folks in the right places. But they finally were able to, get the process started, getting to the business of things this month. And so on the network, we have been streaming the inaugural meeting of this presidential advisory committee for Black Americans. So that's the first thing. The second thing we're going to talk a little bit about is the Freedman Bank Conference that the White House, had hosted. The Freedman Bank Conference. If you haven't been familiar with the history of the Freedman Bank, this is the bank that was initially established for Black folks who gained their freedom, our people who gained their freedom. And it was an opportunity for us to become more financially stable after the signing of the Emancipation Proclamation and all of those things. So it's a historical component, but it was an initiative that officially started back in 2015 under President Obama's administration. It was continued right now under President Biden's administration. And so I wanted to kind of bring those two things. But let's talk a little bit about this Presidential Advisory Committee. I'm going to share with you what this committee is about, and then we're going to go into what was said as part of the inaugural meeting. Take a look at this first. This is coming directly from the White House. The Presidential Advisory Commission, on advancing equity, educational equity, excellence, and economic opportunity for Black Americans, aids in developing, implementing, and coordinating educational programs and initiatives for agencies such as the Department of Education. Specifically, the commission provides advice to the president through the Secretary of Education on matters pertaining to educational equity and economic opportunity for the Black community. So let's start there with that. So things like the HBCU conversation will fall under this. You're talking about other economic initiatives. There might be job issues, with the job report. We talked last week about Black women earning less money. So you're talking about that pay gap between women and men. We're also talking about the wealth disparity between Black American and white American workers. You could talk about that. So that's happening. Now, this commission, let's go to quote 2, please, Lise. Thank you. The commission primarily focused on 1, promoting career pathways for Black students through programs such as internship, apprenticeships, and work-based learning initiatives. 2, increasing public awareness of the educational disparities Black Americans face and providing solutions to these problems. And 3, establishing local and national relationships with public, private, philanthropic, and nonprofit stakeholders to advance the mission of equity, excellence, and economic opportunity for Black Americans. But it's rooted, as you can see, within the educational component. So I wanted to lay that framework out first, and then I want you to hear what the members of this commission is planning to do moving forward. And this is a commission that is made up of a number of folks from all around the country. The chair of the commission is Mr. Malcolm Kenyatta, who is a political leader. But it's a number of people, and you can go to whitehouse.gov, folks, to get the full details of it. But let's listen to what this commission is planning to do and how they're looking forward to improving the quality of life for Black Americans. Take a look.
Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris, the White House initiative on Black Americans has been expanded to encompass education, equity, as well as economic opportunity. And we are very excited for your nominations. We're excited for your passion, your service, and your leadership. The composition of our commission from the past, because of the expansion, we have an amazing group around this table here. We have education leaders, we have academics, business, science, technology, the premier thought leaders in this country. And we are so grateful, and we're so much looking forward to your work and to your recommendations. I wanted to begin with a quote that is included in the executive order that covers our office. And I hope that you will continue to meditate and allow this quote to drive us to the day and to drive our work. And that is this: Black Americans have helped to build, strengthen, and lead our nation towards becoming a more perfect union. And I'm so excited to see the building, the strengthening, and the leadership that will be coming from this table. As members of our Presidential Advisory Commission, your charge is around priorities of educational equity and economic opportunity. And I know, I'm not hoping, I know that today will be a day of celebration and contemplation, and tomorrow we get to work. So with that, I welcome you and I thank you in advance. And I'd like to take a moment to introduce your chair, Representative Malcolm Kenyatta.
I am humbled to be with you this morning. You all represent the best of the best. And I am grateful that as a commission, we are going to learn from one another. We're going to benefit from your expertise and from your ideas. And at the end of this, we're going to be able to look back at some things that we can see, touch, and feel that made life better for Black people in America. I'm going to say that again. By the time we wrap up this commission, we want to be able to go back and look, see, touch, and feel things that we've been able to do that made life better for Black Americans. And when I look around this room, and when I look at these incredible commissioners, the good news for us is you've already been doing that. The good news for us is that you have shown throughout your life and your work a commitment to making life better for Black people in this country. We all understand the immensity of the structural challenges that we face and that we're butting up against. And as we do this work, which I'm going to delve into in a little bit more here in just one second, I want you to keep one word in your mind: actionable. Actionable. When I talk about things that we can see, touch, and feel, I want us to make sure that we provide this president, this vice president, with actionable ideas that can be implemented, that people can see a difference in their lives. And so that's a part of what I want us to really be focusing on. But the second part of that, this is, in this room, like you all get this, but Black folks exist in the future. This is a bit of an aside, but it will never cease to amaze me. The people who could see a show like Game of Thrones, and they can imagine a dragon, they can imagine a woman birthing an egg, but you put a Black person in there, they say, "What you mean? Wait, whoa, now you've messed it up." I make that point because as we think about actionable things that we can do, I also want us to be very forward-looking, forward-thinking, to ask the question, what is the state of Black America in the next 10, 20, 30 years? And how do we use this commission as an opportunity to lay a groundwork for that?
Folks, Black Star Network is here.
Hold no punches.
I'm real revolutionary right now.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
Hey, Black, I love y'all.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, there's a difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart. Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?
All right, folks, welcome back to The Culture here on the Black Star Network. You've been listening just a little bit of just some of the beginning, the inaugural meeting of the Presidential Commission for Black Americans. And as you can hear, Representative Malcolm Kenyatta kind of laying out the foundation and the groundwork of this. Folks, as we have this, as we're playing this, join us in the chat and share with me what you're thinking, what you're hearing, how it resonates for you as we have this conversation about this work of empowering Black America. I want to continue to play what Mr. Representative Kenyatta has to say about the work of this commission and moving forward. Take a listen.
Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris, the White House initiative on Black Americans has been expanded to encompass education, equity, as well as economic opportunity. And we are very excited for your nominations. We're excited for your passion, your service, and your leadership. The composition of our commission from those from the past, because of the expansion, we have an amazing group around this table here. We have education leaders, we have academics, business, science, technology, the premier thought leaders in this country. And we are so grateful, and we're so much looking forward to your work and to your recommendations. I wanted to begin with a quote that is included in the executive order that covers our office. And I hope that you will continue to meditate and allow this quote to drive us to the day and to drive our work. And that is this: Black Americans have helped to build, strengthen, and lead our nation towards becoming a more perfect union. And I'm so excited to see the building, the strengthening, and the leadership that will be coming from this table. As members of our Presidential Advisory Commission, your charge is around priorities of educational equity and economic opportunity. And I know, I'm not hoping, I know that today will be a day of celebration and contemplation, and tomorrow we get to work.
All right, folks, let's look at this situation here. Let's talk a little bit about what this thing is moving forward on. And I want to get your take on this as we're talking about this Presidential Commission for Black Americans. What your take is? Do you think that we're moving in a good direction, that the Biden-Harris administration is moving in a good direction? We would love to hear what you got to say. Join us in the chat as we're streaming live on YouTube, under Roland Martin's YouTube. And I would love to hear what you have to say. Let me go to the crew right now. And just trying to get all of the details out about this. And let me start with, you don't like my music. You said empower Black Americans through reparations. Empower Black Americans through reparations. Well, that's a part of the empowerment. You don't like my music, but there's so many other pieces to this process that we have to take into consideration. Here's the thing, though. I think that if people understood the importance of commissions can either go two ways. They can either be a good use of time, or they could be a waste of time. And when I've done work in the social justice space, especially around policy advocacy, commissions is the one way that people can be seen and can be heard. Commissions provide recommendations. They advise whoever you are going to, whoever is the target. So in this case, this commission has been essentially set up to advise the president, right? Advise the president, the vice president on these issues of educational excellence and equity and whatnot, and economics. So it's something that I know that we have to have, that in order for us to push the needle forward, you got to have a commission that's going to give you some sense of direction, right? And more importantly, to be a liaison between the affected folks, the affected groups of peoples, so in this case, Black Americans, and the government, to be a liaison, because it's one thing to say, oh, okay, let's just tell the president this, or let's just tell the president that. The thing is, this process of advising the president, providing recommendations, will go through a process where it will be considered, it will be on paper, and then it can move further along. It might be end up on the president's agenda. We don't know, but that is part of the process. All right, let me hear what you got to say on this, folks. As this commission to advise, this presidential advisory commission for Black Americans. You said this, Conscious Thought, and good to see you, bro. You said empower Black Americans through more and better grassroots organizing and organization. And you were just responding to, you don't like my music, saying empower Black Americans through reparations. It is through more and better grassroots organizing and organization. I like that. I like that. Do you feel like, Conscious Thought, do you feel like this is a good start? Because this commission is just getting started, folks. It's not, hasn't been around for a year or 2 or 3. It's just getting started. So I'm Conscious Thought, I would love to hear, do you feel like this is the right start? Let's see who else is here. Let's see who else is here. Who else is here? Cindy D, you said, sounds good, but will the plans be implemented? America is so divided. We got to have more actions and less talk. We have a white party. We have a wild party that will not govern. A whole party, excuse me, a whole party that will not govern. Yeah, I think that's the overarching question is, will this plan be implemented? Will these ideas and these recommendations be implemented? Excellent point. You said, now you wanted to talk a little bit about, and I'm the Monkey Confessions, I want to get to your thoughts in a moment, because you're talking about the Freedman Bank Conference, and you're not happy about that situation. And Real Brooklyn, you said empowering Black America. Since this basically means giving Black Americans a greater role in the economy, how does that happen? It starts within. The superficial stuff means nothing without ambition. Whose ambition? The government's or ours? Real Brooklyn, talk to me. Talk to me. And Lana, you said, Farajii, you can't fix this system for us. If Dr. Perry ain't on the committee, while we listening, he gave us the entire plan during the Black Men Summit. That's the solution. He did drop some jewels on that one. He certainly dropped some jewels on that day for the summit. And you're right. You're right. But we got to have a conversation about this, right? So even though Dr. Perry may not be on the commission, I'm sure he knows the people who are dealing with this educational piece, or they know of him. And then that's where the communication line starts to set up. Look, I'm gonna take a quick pause. Tiana, you said it's a start. Absolutely, it's a start, right? I'm gonna take a quick pause. I'm gonna share with you the other part of this work that they're looking to do with the Freedman Bank Conference and how they want to improve the economics of it. Here's the thing though, folks, here's the thing. I don't want us, because I feel like the overarching conversation for empowerment for Black folks in this country, it's either one or two things, either jobs or money. It's either, oh, okay, we got to get access to better jobs, or we got to have economic development, economic opportunity. And I get that. Of course, we're living in a capitalistic system, so I totally understand that. But I just feel like there are some missing things from that call of just jobs and economic opportunities, economic equity, and economic development, starting businesses and things. Like, I feel like something is still missing from that. So maybe I'm wrong. Y'all tell me what your thoughts are on about this. But I do see that there is a necessity for us to talk about establishing an economic framework that includes Black people, not just being clients of banks, clients of financial institutions, but let's look at ownership. Let's look creating financial institutions that really will, serve the needs of our communities. In some of these neighborhoods that we live in, or that we have friends in, or we have family in, or we know of, right? Not only is there a food desert, there's an economic desert. They don't have banks in a lot of Black neighborhoods, right? And if you're talking, we're cashing checks at the check cashing spots. So what is really going on? So look, we're going to have that conversation on the other side. So stay with us. It's the culture here on the Black Star Network.
Black Star Network is here.
Oh, no punch!
I'm real revolutionary right now.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, there's a difference between Black Star Network and black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig? When you talk about blackness and what happens in black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it. This is about covering us. Invest in black-owned media. Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks. We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind 100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible. Checks and money orders go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland at RolandSMartin.com.
All right, folks, welcome back to the culture here on the Black Star Network. We've been talking about just some of the things that President Biden, Vice President Kamala Harris is doing around the issue of empowering Black Americans. And so one of the first things that we wanted to highlight was the work of the Presidential Advisory Commission for Black Americans. This is a group of folks from all across the country, and this commission is led by Representative Malcolm Kenyatta. But this is a group of folks that have been gathered together to discuss advancing the educational equity, excellence, and economic opportunities for Black Americans, and predominantly in the educational space, right? And creating opportunities for the next generation to take advantage of those educational opportunities. Now, the other part of this is what we're seeing around the conversation about the Freedman's conference. This is coming out of, or rather a continuation of, the Treasury's Department, as they're calling it, unmet promises to freed Black Americans. Here's the latest on this, and take a look at this, folks. And at least let's put quote one up from the Griot. The goal of the Freedmen's Savings and Trust, this is the historic goal, because back in the day, there was the Freedmen's Savings and Trust Company, known as the Freedmen's Bank, was to give the formerly enslaved, including Black veterans who fought in the Civil War for their freedom, access to banking and financial security as they earned wages for the first time in their lives. At its height, the Freedmen's Bank expanded to 17 state branches with deposits totaling $57 million back in the day, folks, the equivalent of $115 billion today. Wow. So that was the work. Now, however, due to fraud, mismanagement, and poor oversight, the Freedmen's Bank failed and it closed its doors back in 1874. Despite a last-ditch effort, according to the history by famed abolitionist Frederick Douglass, to save it. Now, here's the work. To commemorate the failed bank and its unfulfilled potential of building Black wealth, the Treasury Department recently held the Freedmen's Bank Forum, which is an annual conference where public and private sector leaders convene to discuss ways to close the historical and persistent racial wealth gap in America. The forum, as you can see, it says the Freedmen's Bank. It's an opportunity to remind ourselves and look at the third paragraph of the importance of trying to keep the unmet promises to not only freed slaves, and this is coming from Mr. Wally Adeyemo, who serves as the Department Secretary of the U.S. Department of Treasury. He told the Griot this. He said, it's an opportunity to remind ourselves of the importance of trying to keep these unmet promises to not only freed slaves, but the people of color in this country in order to live up to our highest ideals as a country and also to unlock the potential of the U.S. economy. So they had two different gatherings around this issue of economic development. They had the Freedman's Bank Conference or annual bank forum, this annual conference, and we're seeing this situation with this presidential commission, this advisory commission for Black Americans. I want to know what your take is on this, right? What is your take on this? Cindy, you said, good point, Farajii. That's why predatory lending companies are established in our communities. Sometimes that's all we have. No opportunities for personal bank loans from communities. Right. You're talking about the situation of us using check cash in places and those kind of mom and pop shops, right? But they're not financial institutions that we can truly rely on. If somebody were to take the check cash in place out of the community, out of the hood, and you don't have a bank there, now you got to figure out another means to do this. But it's so popular that a lot of these places, especially these check cashing places, the interest will be phenomenal. The amount of money they take out of your check is high. The service is poor, or it can be potentially poor. But it doesn't give you, and I know some of these places even offers like little debit cards and you can get a little account, but it does not connect you to the mainstream economic system. You're still kind of working below the radar in that respect. So that's a great point, Cindy. Thank you so much. You said, Farajii, I agree about the economic desert. But Black people, we got to agree on our starters first, but we're not a monolith, so we need to come together as united fronts. I wholeheartedly agree with that, Mimi. I think that if Black folks started to open up financial institutions like a bank or a credit union, and it's not easy, I'm not making it act as if it's easy, because a lot of the stuff that we need in our community, the major institutions you need in the community is schools, our schools, hospital, banks, right? Of course, you need like a police department and a fire department. But these are the institutions, but it's not easy getting into the space. It's not easy to establish a Freedman's Bank. Back in the day, it wasn't quite as many laws and all the restrictions, and we were able to establish it. But guess what? You saw it, like as I shared that history. It collapsed. It had to close its doors, right? Back in the 1874. So when we're talking about this stuff, we got to understand, and I said this last week, folks, business is warfare. Business is warfare. So when we're talking about establishing institutions for economic development, establish an institution that is going to, free us of having the type of economic control that has been imposed on us because we're living in a capitalistic system, then you're talking about going to war. Let me see, Monkey Confessions. You said collective coalitions. The program is supposed to be for Black Americans. Yeah, it's supposed to be for Black Americans. And y'all know how I feel. If Black folks in this country are set right, we're on a better course, we're making progress, then every other group of marginalized people will just follow suit. So we are the trailblazers in that area, the trailblazers. Pretty Brown Mimi, you added the Attorney General Merrick Garland was in Jacksonville, Florida last week talking about redlining in the financial communities, banks. Let me tell you something. I remember working on a project back in Baltimore where I was working with other Black folks, other Black leaders in the lending, the housing space. And one of the things that we kind of came across is the fact that as much as these banks promote themselves as being a part of the community, as much as these banks promote themselves as being, supporting and really, keeping these communities sustainable. When you look at the numbers, and this is public information, folks, you don't have to dig too deep, but look at the major bank in your neighborhood and look at the numbers of how much money they actually invest in Black-owned businesses, how much money they actually invest in women-owned businesses, how much money they actually invest in back into the community. And we've come across major banks. I'm talking about your top tier banks that have branches in our community, and they give very little, less than 10% of what they're bringing in, right? So when we're talking about changing the relationship or that economic relationship that we have with the banks, then we have to look at the dollars and cents behind it, look at the numbers behind it. It's not that much, folks. It's really not that much. I'm talking about from your major banks, whether you're talking about like a Bank of America or PNC or Deloitte or whatever your bank is. Look at how much they actually invest, and they will have to share that with you. Say, I just wonder, I'm a business person, I'm a community member. How much money is actually, and they might give you some big number. Oh, we've given $100 million. And you say, okay, what are the terms of that investment into our community? $100 million over 10 years to 10 businesses. When you break that down, it's like $1 million a business or something, or less. And then after tax, it boils down to very little impact. So there has to be a conversation at least about banking, because banking also determines the rates of what? You're talking about the rate of loans. You're talking about investments. You're talking about how some of the consumer services are done in terms of fees. It's a lot. Banking is a major industry in this country. Major industry. And again, and many of you are talking about predatory lending. Again, going back to the banks, that's what happened with the Wells Fargo situation back in 2008 when President Obama was in office, right? Like, you're looking at these banks and they have fallen apart. And guess what? Yes, they have come back up. But the question is, in their come up, have they lifted the Black community, Black America back up? How many of us have loans with these banks, right, that spend very little for us, spend very little? You don't like my music. You said I want equality. That used to be the goal, but it seems capitalism has crushed it. It's hard to get equality and capitalism in the same space at the same time. Let's just say you don't like my music. How can you have equality if everybody's on equal footing, but capitalism rewards those who have more than others? Where's the equality? How does that happen? Lana, you say, Farajii, they don't allow us in the space. They will create a law to close it. That's why we must separate this system, uphold supremacy. Real Brooklyn, you said banks are structured to make the most money for shareholders. Black folks need to know and understand how money works. I bet if you ask what is a principal and interest rate, most will not know. And guess what? That's where we start. Financial literacy, right? That's where we start. I remember back in the day, and we got to take a quick pause, but I remember back in the day, some parents would give their children checkbooks, take them to the bank, have them write their first check. Some parents would open up bank accounts for them. Some parents will go through that process of writing a deposit and all of that, like those old school economic values, right? But it's different today. How many parents are still doing that? How many of us are having conversations about financial literacy? And this is not to throw shade on anyone that hasn't done that. It's just a simple fact that we're living in a different time, a different culture, and we're having different conversations about money. Like, we all talk about money. We all say we're trying to get that bag. We all say, but to your point, Real Brooklyn, you're saying that we got to get that bag. But at the end of the day, if you don't know how this system of money works, you can get the bag today and it'll be gone by this evening. You can get the bag today and can be gone by this evening. So I wanted to just put those two ideas out there. We're talking about the Freedman Bank Forum. We're talking about this Presidential Advisory Commission for Black Americans, Y'all should go to whitehouse.gov, check it all out. It's all on there, whitehouse.gov, and just see what this administration is focusing on and what they are trying to do as they look to empower Black America. There's a lot of work that still needs to be done. Stay with us, folks. We're going to take a quick pause. When we come forward, let's check in with Dr. Bridget for this week's Reclaim Your Wellness. Stay with us. It's The Culture here on the Black Star Network.
Hatred on the streets, a horrific scene, a white nationalist rally that descended into deadly violence.
White people are losing their damn minds.
As an angry pro-Trump mob storms the U.S. Capitol,
We're about to see the rise of what I call white minority resistance. We have seen white folks in this country who simply cannot tolerate Black folks voting.
I think what we're seeing is the inevitable result of violent denial.
This is part of American history. Every time that people of color have made progress, whether real or symbolic, there has been what Carol Anderson at Emory University calls white rage as a backlash.
This is the rise of the Proud Boys and the Boogaloo Boys. America, there's going to be more of this.
Here's all the Proud Boys, guys.
This country is getting increasingly racist in its behaviors and its attitudes because of the fear of white people.
The fear that they're taking our jobs, they're taking our resources, they're taking our women. This is white fear. Black Star Network is here.
Oh, no punch!
I'm real revolutionary right now.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, this difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?
All right, folks, welcome back to The Culture right here on the Black Star Network. I'm your host, Farajii Muhammad. Thank you so much for tuning in. Folks, if you missed the first half of the show, we talked about two big initiatives that the White House, the Biden-Harris administration is moving forward on, which is one is talking about economic development and prosperity for Black Americans through their Freedman Bank Forum that they are constantly, they've been having. This is an annual conference to have a conversation about economic development, how to bridge the racial wealth gap that exists in this country. So that is happening. And then we talked a little bit about the newly formed Presidential Advisory Commission for Black Americans that's looking to bring some level of equity and excellence into the educational space, as well as talking about economic opportunity there. So education, economics, these are the things that are shaping Black Americans. This is the work that the Biden-Harris administration is doing to empower Black Americans. But I want us to let us know that even though this might be the focus of the White House, there are still many more different facets of our condition that needs to be addressed, which is partly why it's important for us to have these conversations, why we hosted the Black Men's Summit, because there is so much work that needs to be done. So it can't just come down to jobs, money, and education. So for example, one of those big things that we need to keep our eyes on is health and wellness. And as we do here every Monday, we check in with our sister, Dr. Bridget, to give us some updates about some of the big health issues and the big topics around health that we need to keep informed about. So let's go ahead and move forward with this week's edition of Reclaim Your Wellness with Dr. Bridget. All right, Doc, good afternoon. How are you feeling?
Great. How are you today, Farajii?
It's Monday, Doc. Anything can happen.
I know. Without a doubt. Without a doubt. Yeah. Have a little
All right,
grace.
Right.
Right. Take it slow and a little grace will get you there. So
come on now. We'll be talking about that all day. Let's talk a little bit about some of the big things. You came across something about music first that you want us to kind of focus on. What was this? This is a very interesting remedy to stop to fight sadness. What was this something? What was this that you read about?
absolutely. So I thought it was an interesting piece of research that I came across, that a recent publication in Frontiers in Pain Research was about a study where they brought people together to really discover what could help control pain better. And they actually found that utilizing music that not only soothes your soul can actually be soothing your pain as well. And so it's a really interesting piece of research, something to really take into consideration when we're dealing with different issues, whether it's daily pain or post-surgery, that they took a small group of people, about 63 people, together, and they had them experiencing intensity of heat, unpleasant heat, with kind of like a poker, to be honest with you, right? And then the people would then scale the amount of discomfort that they were feeling. In the beginning, they had music that they were choosing, and then they had the participants then choose their favorite music of all time, as well as the one song they would want if they were on a desert island, which I'm not quite sure the difference between the two of those. And then the participant also chose one of the selections by the team itself. And what they found was that music that was soothing, that kind of gave you the feels and sometimes was even emotional, actually controlled pain better than, of course, the music they picked, or sometimes the more upbeat music that people were choosing.
Wow. Sorry, here's what come to my mind. So what you're feeling and what you're listening to does go hand in hand.
It does. You know, when people say that, you know, music hits your soul,
right,
and that what you're hearing, you definitely absorb, it's a very real thing. And to be, you know, putting the science aspect to it, that the music and the emotion that you're feeling interacts with the same area in the brain that you're experiencing the pain. And so it actually decreases the experience of pain by 10%.
Wow. All right. So here's my question. So this makes sense because if you're going through like a relationship breakup, people turn to food a lot. We already know that. But people do turn to me. What you say?
Another show.
Another show. But people do turn to music, like to get them through. And it may not even be a breakup. It could just be a difficult moment in your life. You know, lose a job, you got to make a transition. Like transition can sometimes be very uncomfortable and unexpected. So I you know, it's interesting that folks do rely on music. I remember certain songs that I played during certain moments in my life that played a huge role. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
And helping me to kind of get through. So this is so this is very real.
Yeah. And I think it's important for, you know, people to use for themselves and their own experiences. But also, you know, we often say, you know, when people are going through a hard time, you're not sure what to do. This might be the way that you participate and show up for your loved ones, that you know, show up with that favorite music and say, you know, you play it and you're just in the moment with them, and it will help reduce some of that pain and help them get to a different place. I went out to dinner for a friend's birthday last night, and it was someplace I've never been. It was a jazz restaurant, and the singer was singing some of my absolute favorite songs of all time. And it actually transported me to a different place, right? And I think sometimes when we listen to that moody music that, you know, when you listen to it, you know what it means to you. You feel like they're sharing that experience with you. Yeah, it eases that discomfort, and at the minimum, it's distracting you.
All right, so I'm glad you used that term. We got to take a quick pause. When we come forward, I want us to know, and from your perspective as a medical professional, Is it good though to be distracted when you're in a moment of pain versus really processing that painful moment, really working through it, really confronting it? Do we want to get into a place of distraction or should we confront it? So I'm just hold your answer to that one.
Why do you do that? Why do you do that?
Because I want to know, right? I really want to know because it's easy for us to say, all right, it doesn't bother me. But when the song goes off, when you're sitting in that intimate moment, when you're by yourself in the dark, you know, you might be looking at the ceiling or something late at night, that pain is still present. So how does music play into that? Look, we're going to get into more conversation with Dr. Bridget, folks. I would love to get your take on this. I see folks are checking in, talking about how music has changed their lives and getting them through some of the tougher moments of life. But let's continue to talk about this right here on The Culture on the Black Star Network.
Pull up a chair, take your seat. The Black Tape with me, Dr. Greg Carr, here on the Black Star Network. Every week, we'll take a deeper dive into the world we're living in. Join the conversation only on the Black Star Network.
I'm Farajii Muhammad, live from LA. And this is The Culture. The Culture is a two-way conversation. You and me. We talk about the stories, politics, the good, the bad, and the downright ugly. So join our community every day at 3 p.m. Eastern and let your voice be heard. Hey, we're all in this together. So let's talk about it and see what kind of trouble we can get into. It's The Culture, weekdays at 3, only on the Black Star Network.
When you talk about blackness and what happens in black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it. This is about covering us. Invest in black-owned media. Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks. We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind $100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible. Checks and money orders go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland at RolandSMartin.com. Folks, Black Star Network is here.
Oh, no punching!
I'm real revolutionary right now.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
Stay black. I love y'all.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, this difference between Black Star Network and black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart. Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?
All right, folks, welcome back to The Culture here on the Black Star Network. I'm your host, Farajii Muhammad, joined by our sister, Dr. Bridget, MD, for this week's Reclaim Your Wellness segment, where she's talking about how certain types of music could help you feel less pain based on a new study. Mm-hmm. Now, let's just put this in perspective here, Doc. Certain types of music, not all music.
No, not all music.
Certain types of music.
If you're looking for that music that kind of gives you the chills, gives you your feelings, it It kind of gets into your soul when you listen to it. Something that's kind of moody and kind of maybe even a tearjerker a little bit. It hits you at your soul type music, right? So this isn't your, dance all night music, most likely, right? This is something that kind of really gets into your heart, gets into your soul when you listen to it. And they found that had a better effect at decreasing pain than your club buster, incredible, whatever song, as well as some random soothing song that someone might choose for you. So what I'm also suggesting, it's very personal, because what might be gut wrenching for you and really kind of hit you in your heart might not be the same song for me. So there has to be experience with that music as well to be able to connect with it in a way that it soothes the pain that you're experiencing.
I'm right there with you. I'm right there. I listened to a song over the weekend, and Doc, I have to say, I must have listened to this song. I just found this song out. It played on my Pandora, and I was like, what the hell is this? And I played this song so damn loud in my car, and I was driving somewhere, and I mean, the emotions. The emotions. Now, here's the thing. The song was about losing love and losing people and all that stuff. So I'm all up in my bag, you know what I mean, in my emotions. But here's the thing. How do we, is there a line or boundary where you might tune into some music, but you still need to address the pain, right? Like if it's the pain of a loss, whether it's a breakup, whether it's a death, whether it's to transition in your life, some type of major change that's causing you to feel uncomfortable or put you at a dis-ease, and music finds it. How do you make sure that the music can be there, but you still got to confront that pain? You still got to do some processing of that pain, right?
So yes, but keep in mind, I'm talking about very specifically physical pain. Right. So
Okay.
is done with a heat element. And so how people experienced the heat element next to the skin, that pain was less when they listened to certain types of music. Right. Now, when we're talking about emotional pain, right, you're making a good argument that not only, yes, we're seeing this about physical pain, but I think we've also always known that music helps heal the soul when you're dealing with more emotional pain. And as far as you need to feel that pain, I don't think music takes you to a place where you're totally numb, right? This isn't using substances that might help you escape. If anything, I think when you're talking about emotional pain, that music actually helps you process it, and sometimes makes you feel a little less alone.
Okay. Now I can get that. I can definitely get that, because the thing I always
and keep in mind that when we're talking about numbing physical pain, what do opioids do? They numb how your brain senses the physical pain, right? A little bit different than, let's say, an anti-inflammatory like, ibuprofen, Motrin, Advil, what have you, that decreases the inflammation that causes the pain. And I'm not saying it numbs some of the pain as well, but what we're saying is that with this music, it decreases how you're experiencing physical pain without having to numb the pain itself, without trying to escape from the pain itself. Right. And, that's important as well, because I definitely believe whether it's emotional or physical pain, you do need to experience it to understand what's going on with you, right? If you come to me as a patient and you've taken tons of meds before you come in and you said you hurt your ankle, but you're on so many medications, you're not even walking with a limp, it's hard for me to examine you, right?
Right, until that medication wears off, right?
Absolutely. And there have been times in hospitals we actually give people, let's say if they've taken, Vicodin or other opioids, we've given them Narcan to get it out of their system so we can actually see what's going on with the patient, right? But if you go to a therapist and you are high and drunk, the therapist is not going to see you because they need to see your pain. They cannot work with you if you are numbed. in that sense as well, if that makes sense. But if you listen to your favorite song on the way, you know, we all can get to work. So
I'm trying to figure out how many toes you want to step on, because you stepping on a lot of people. Just saying, you're stepping on a lot of people's toes, man. Life is painful sometimes, man.
Life is painful, and sometimes you've got to feel it, right? So, I mean, and that in itself, I don't think is, you know, I think if anything, I feel like this little bit of research is maybe just, I hope it gets people to support their friends that might be going through something, support yourself, and maybe, you know, tonight people will listen to, you know, I don't know, a good Aretha song. I don't know.
I mean, something good. Look, let me just share with you very quickly before we take our next pause. Cindy D. Cindy, you said interesting study. That's why we listen to torch song, sad music. It helps our mood. If it's negative, it helps you get over your anguish. That's true.
Maybe too good. Sorry. Go ahead.
Maybe too good. It might put you in a different place afterwards.
Maybe a little bit too well.
Right.
Gospel music works, honey. Gospel music works.
Oh, let me tell you something. I listened to this. I don't even know who the artist is. I heard this brother just like a couple of days ago. Him and Hezekiah Walker came on stage. It was like a YouTube video. And I'm just completely engrossed in the whole situation. I'm not even knowing what's going on around me. I'm like, I mean, Hezekiah coming, you know how they come out, you know, they got the whole choir. Next thing you know, Hezekiah, hey, you be like, oh Lord, you know, you just so I'm definitely with you.
That's what we're talking about. That's what we're talking about.
It does something for us, which is why I understand that in the Black religious experience, music is a huge element of that. And Pastor Damon Blissett, I know one of our great culture crew members, he can attest to this is one of the great, that's why there is music in the church. Some people, and I don't know if white America or any other group of people will truly understand how musically inclined Black folks are. That we need music when we cook, when we clean. We need music when we're sad, when we're happy. We need music when we pray and worship. It's just like that's the natural rhythm of who we are.
You know, I just have to put this in there. I went to a Black TEDx talk Saturday. Absolutely incredible, beautiful, amazing experience. You know, we were dancing, we were up, and I was like, I bet the other TEDx talks aren't like this, right? But we were in aisles, we were doing it all. And I was like, this is the Black experience. If you're not sure of what we put music into everything.
Everything.
Because it heals our soul. It heals our soul.
Absolutely. Let me just take one more comment from the crew. You said you don't like my music. You said the movies we watch, the music we listen to the books we read influence us much more than the talking heads on media. And that's to your point, Doc, when you said that sometimes the music can get us into a different place. You know, it can transport us. It can help us to give us some context on what we're seeing. Like, you know, if you listen to a certain artist, whether it's like Aretha Franklin or a ballad from Beyonce, it doesn't matter. Like if they actually believe that there are notes that a human being can sing that will literally resonate with the movement, the rhythm of your body. Yeah. And that when certain notes are sung, you know what I'm saying? Whether it's a Patty or Aretha or Whitney or Mariah or Beyonce or Jennifer, like when some of these singers, when these sisters sing, they you're talking about a whole different level of existence here. You're talking about a deep, deep, soulful level of existence here.
And keep in mind, there are healing frequencies as well. And so that's a whole nother aspect, you know, that isn't really covered in the study per se, but there are frequencies of music that are considered healing that come into your brain and actually can help. That frequency helps heal your body. And so this isn't, if people think that music is benign, it is not. Music is healing. And I also believe that music can be destructive as well.
Absolutely. Pastor Damon had to take us to church. He said, Farajii, my earlier comment in the scriptures, 1 Samuel 16, when King Saul had the evil spirit on him, David played the harp and the evil spirit left him. Come on, Pastor. That's why we got you in the chat. That's why we needed that. Absolutely. There it is right there. Look, we're going to take a quick pause. When we come forward, we want to hear your take on this conversation around sickle cells. Folks, stay with us. The conversation continues with Dr. Bridget and Reclaim Your Wellness, and of course with you right here on The Culture on the Black Star Network.
Folks, Black Star Network is here.
I'm real revolutionary right now.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
Stay black. I love y'all.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, there's a difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?
I'm Farajii Muhammad, live from LA. And this is The Culture. The Culture is a two-way conversation. You and me. We talk about the stories, politics, the good, the bad, and the downright ugly. So join our community every day at 3 p.m. Eastern and let your voice be heard. Hey, we're all in this together. So let's talk about it and see what kind of trouble we can get into. It's The Culture, weekdays at 3, only on the Black Star Network.
When you talk about blackness and what happens in Black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it. This is about covering us. Invest in Black-owned media. Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks. We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind 100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible. Checks and money orders go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland at RolandSMartin.com.
All right, folks, welcome back to The Culture here on the Black Star Network. We are talking to Dr. Bridget for this week's Reclaim Your Wellness segment. And people are really talking about this music piece within the chat. The crew is really feeling this. I want to kind of get your take on this very quickly before we talk about sickle cell. What's the impact of listening to music that doesn't, it attracts you, but it doesn't add on to you? So if you're listening to a song, I'm sorry, go ahead now.
I had a good friend years ago that used to say, be careful what you listen to, because you become what you listen to, right? And I was like, but it's, like you like that hot track and you're thinking, what does it matter? What does it matter what they say? What have you? But there is a subliminal aspect of the music we listen to, right? And I think different beats have different effects. Obviously, there are frequencies that can be healing. There's also frequencies that can be more destructive. And so it is a thought, about some of the music that is out there. that what is the long lasting, or what is the effect even in the short term, and how it can affect us. And I think, I could definitely look at some different research or information out there, but I think you also have to look at your response yourself to that music, right? And there's music that you'll walk away, and between the beat and the words, you feel more angry, you feel more agitated, right? You feel think about what is it, at a lot of rock concerts or what have you, where they have the mosh pit, I guess, and that literally you're hitting each other, right? You have to consider, if they were listening to Barbra Streisand, they wouldn't be in the mosh pit, right? Like that, it's not going to happen. Music has to elevate you, to drive you to that place. And so you have to ask yourself, with some of the music you listen to, where does it take you? Is that someplace that you want to be?
I'm just thinking about it, because it's that you know where I'm going with this. That, we are both in the hip hop space. So hip hop is always the number one culprit for social decline, right? In some way, shape, or form. But I do believe that there is something to the fact that certain frequencies, and I love how you said that, the vibration and the frequency, certain frequencies can be more, I don't want to use the term destructive, but it's not as constructive, rather. It's not as constructive as listening to a jazz or listening to a symphony or something along those lines, right? Like certain music does put you in a certain mindset. And one of the big things that I often hear, especially of us in Black America, is people like, I just want to relax. And I think it's the craziest excuse, because I'm like, so we're relaxing with music that demean, humiliates, and puts us in a framework where we are angry, sad, or hateful of one another. This is our form of relaxation. I often push back on that, guy.
So let me say this, that I think we just take it for granted. We talk about elevator music, and we kind of just coined that word of this kind of nonchalant, easy listening. There's a reason because a lot of people are anxious being in a box, 12 stories off the ground,
right?
Or 25 stories off the ground. The music is piped in there to help calm you, emotionally, right?
That's a great point.
And so it's a very real thing that frequencies can make you happy, they can make you sad, they can make you angry. And in this case, the research is saying that can also make you feel less pain. And I think that's the difference, right? We knew that it would take you to emotional places, but I don't think we were aware that it could actually calm a physical pain that you're experiencing.
Absolutely. Taylor said, all music is not created equal. Like anything else, people have different triggers, right? Absolutely. Pastor Damon said, music brings about influence, and how you use it will take you to a place both good and bad, Farajii. Absolutely. You don't like when music said, angry music makes you angry, sad music makes you sad, happy music makes you happy. It's very simple. Yeah. Very simple. So we're in that space that you do have to be more conscientious of what you're taking in, right?
Yes.
That we have to be more intentional about what we're exposing ourselves to, because if you're happy and you're like, you know what, I'm happy, let me listen to my favorite hip hop song that's full of degrading lyrics, or my favorite song that doesn't, that puts me in a different place, then your happiness can turn into anxiety. Your happiness can turn into rage. Your happiness can turn into anger, just simply because of a 3-minute and 30-second song.
Right. And that was the thing. The length of the song was also an important part of it. It had to be long enough to actually have an effect on your pain. And so all songs that were submitted had to be at least 3 minutes and 20 seconds for it to be effective.
Wow. Jeez, man, oh man. You know what, Doc, I enjoy talking to you about this stuff because it's so fascinating, and I really want to, and I appreciate you for helping us to connect the dots. Like, I think a lot of people know this, but it's just something in us as human beings. I think it's like we know something is good or we know something is the right way to do it, but we got this little thing in us that's be like, yeah, I know it's good, but like we're all challenged by, and I'm saying all of us, I'm including myself into the mix. All of us are challenged by that, right?
What I'm hoping though is that we, and obviously this is a small study, so more work needs to be done. What I'm hoping is that, post-surgery, that you are given like a headphones, and they ask you, what is your favorite, relaxing, emotional song, right? And they're playing a song that will actually help. Like we need to be much more integrative in our healthcare, right? And so there's no reason why post-surgery you can't have, or during surgery for that matter, right? That even subliminally you're taking in a song that is an emotional trigger, that it kind of hits you in that right spot, and it actually can make maybe your surgery or your procedure less painful.
Absolutely.
We know about the emotion, but I think to tie in how it can help with physical pain, I think is a little bit new information. Like I said, there's still more work to do. And along the side of the emotional piece, look, that Lemonade album took care of everything. That was all the medicine I needed. You know what I'm saying? That was all the medicine I needed, right?
So Beyonce was your therapist and your doctor.
Look, therapist, doctor, medicate. Look, that Lemonade. Look,
it was therapeutic for a lot of women.
All of it.
It was therapeutic for a lot of women, right?
Yes.
It was therapeutic, and I think that when an artist is able, and I think this is the genius of any artist, not just Beyonce, when you're able to tap into an emotion and bring words to the emotion, give it some context, give it some sound. That's the genius, right? I've heard so many songs. I've been to like a lot of concerts and I'm listening to the songs. There are some songs that you can play it, the beat might be upbeat, the words are saying something, and I just have no feeling, no connection to it.
Right. Absolutely.
You're just sitting there like, I don't get it. Everybody else is around you is just, oh boy, this is hot. And you're like, don't do it for me, bro. Doesn't do it for me. So I think that's very, very true. Look, we got to take another quick pause. When we come back, let's talk about, is there a cure for sickle cell? We're going to talk to Dr. Bridget about this and one of the latest developments in this whole situation. So stay with us. It's The Culture here on the Black Star Network.
Pull up a chair, take your seat. The Black Tape with me, Dr. Greg Carr, here on the Black Star Network. Every week, we'll take a deeper dive into the world we're living in. Join the conversation only on the Black Star Network.
I'm Farajii Muhammad, live from LA. And this is The Culture. The Culture is a two-way conversation. You and me. We talk about the stories, politics, the good, the bad, and the downright ugly. So join our community every day at 3 p.m. Eastern and let your voice be heard. Hey, we're all in this together. So let's talk about it and see what kind of trouble we can get into. It's The Culture, weekdays at 3, only on the Black Star Network.
When you talk about blackness and what happens in black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it. This is about covering us. Invest in black-owned media. Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks. We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind 100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible. Checks and money orders go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland at RolandSMartin.com. Folks, Black Star Network is here.
Hold no punches. I'm real revolutionary right now.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
I love y'all.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, this difference between Black Star Network and black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart. Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?
All right, folks, welcome back to The Culture here on the Black Star Network. We checked in with Dr. Bridget, MD, for this week's Reclaim Your Wellness. Now, Doc, there's talk about a possible new cure for sickle cell disease that may be coming. This is huge because Black folks are disproportionately affected by sickle cell disease in America right now. Now, the only cure as of right now where it stands is a bone marrow transplant, right? But now they're looking into the possibility of gene therapy. Talk to us a little bit about this.
Yeah, so this is really exciting. I mean, as some of you know, that even with the Courage and Cannabis books that I have a brother and sister that have sickle cell, plus other friends of mine and family that have sickle cell as well. And so this really was exciting information for me to see that, and we're waiting for the FDA to approve this. And it's also going to be the first gene therapy on the US market that is based on this new technology called CRISPR. And this is a gene editing tool. And I'll explain a little bit of that as we go forward, but it won, the inventors won the Nobel Prize in 2020. So this is definitely cutting edge. Very exciting because right now, as you said, the bone marrow transplants are the only cure. The problem with bone marrow transplants is that you need a donor. They typically have to be related to you. So they might have the trait, which is not something that you want. And although it can be effective with 90% of people doing well, 5% of children die during bone marrow transplants. And so this new treatment, this new therapy is really exciting to see what it can do for so many people that have constant pain.
So based on this information, Doc, this gene therapy is going to be reviewed by the Food and Drug Administration, and they're going to, the FDA is expected to decide on the treatment in early December before taking up a different sickle cell gene therapy later that month. But what's the likelihood? Talk to us about, if this new treatment comes on the market, what will that look like, and how will that affect those in Black America that have sickle cell disease?
Absolutely. So I think the likelihood is pretty good actually with this because they're incredibly excited about this new gene editing tool. And basically the way it works, with bone marrow transplant, you're needing to inject or put someone else's bone marrow cells in or stem cells into your body, right? With this new editing tool, basically your stem cells are removed from the person, that the tool edits your DNA, removing the gene that has caused the sickle cell, and then your blood, your genes are then put back into your body. So you don't need a donor, which is always a huge problem for so many. Getting the right donor with the right blood type, that that is where their blood match is close enough for you to be able to accept their bone marrow. So this is really exciting. This is not just sickle cell, but they're also looking at beta thalassemia as well, that affects a majority of African Americans or Africans as well. And so I'm excited to see what this can do.
Taylor said sickle cell used to be treated by blood transfusions only way back in the day. They also said that is that a one-time treatment? Do you think this gene therapy will be a one-time treatment?
That's my understanding. Yes. Yeah. So it's exciting to see what it'll do. And then obviously, if you think about gene editing, what this could lead to and so many other more genetic disorders that people deal with.
Do you think that it opens up this conversation like if for something like sickle cell disease, and I know that those who suffer from sickle cell, great pain, they have a lot of like medical complications. With something like this, it's almost like, as you don't like my music say, it's quite revolutionary, but then there are just so many uncertainties that's attached to it, right? Like you're talking about splicing genes and editing them, removing them, and it's just like, are we living in some type of 1984 dystopian type of world at this point when it comes to this, especially when, Black folks really don't have that much trust in the medical industry as it stands.
Absolutely. I hear what you're saying, and my first thought is don't be afraid of the future, because the future is Black as well. Okay. And if this is an opportunity for so many people that I know have severe pain, that it's actually stopped their lives, that, for those that have not entered into the space of having a bone marrow transplant, that they've ended up being addicted to opioids instead, I am open to what this might mean, because trust that this is not something they would do if it was only going to help Black people. Okay. This is going to be utilized on a much larger scale. Now, of course, we never want to be the guinea pigs, because historically that is what makes us nervous, right?
Yep.
But I don't think in this case it's necessarily being the guinea pig in this case. I think this is a condition that really halts people's lives. And if bone marrow is not an option, then this is something that they're taking great care of, because they want it to work for other people as well.
Absolutely. Real Brooklyn asked a question. We're going to get you a chance to answer this and then take our next pause, our final break. He said, because it's a genetic condition someone is born with, there is no way to prevent the disease, correct? I heard being active and avoiding alcohol and not smoking helps. Is that true?
Okay, so they're not preventing it from happening. What they're doing in this case is curing it after you already have it. Okay, so this isn't, at least not at this phase, this isn't something where they're stopping people from actually developing it, but just curing them from it after they've already been diagnosed. Sickle cell, the exacerbations, the sickling that occurs is usually due to extreme stress. Okay. Anything that stresses your body mentally and physically can cause a sickling episode. And so smoking is a stressor to your body, right? Alcohol is a stressor. Even pregnancy, even physical activity can be a stressor. I mean, it literally can halt people from living at times, right? And so it can erode away your joints. And we're not talking about we're talking about children that really have a hard time with this. Obviously, some people have it worse than others. And even where the cannabis piece comes in is that CBD in particular calms your body of stressors mentally and physically, and in all different types of ways. And so it's been helpful. But if we have a way so that a cure, obviously that would change everything for a lot of people.
Oh, absolutely. Folks, we got to take another quick pause when we come forward. Let's get some final remarks from Dr. Bridget and from you on this topic. Stay with us. It's The Culture here on the Black Star Network.
Pull up a chair, take your seat. The Black Tape with me, Dr. Greg Carr, here on the Black Star Network. Every week, we'll take a deeper dive into the world we're living in. Join the conversation only on the Black Star Network.
Black Star Network is here.
Oh, no punch! I'm real revolutionary right now.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, there's a difference between Black Star Network and black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart. Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?
All right, folks, welcome back to The Culture here on the Black Star Network. We've been checking in with our sister, Dr. Bridget, MD, for Reclaim Your Wellness, as we talk about sickle cell disease and how there may be another cure that we may see being advocated on the market sometime as early as December or even in the beginning parts of 2024. And this new treatment of gene therapy is going to be reviewed by the Food and Drug Administration to determine its safety and to determine all of the key factors. And if all goes well, Doc, this might be another form of therapy for sickle cell disease. What's the best word to use? Patients.
Yeah, I think it could be a game changer for many. And so, I've sent the information out to, friends and family, and they're definitely, sitting and waiting to see how this might be, what they've been looking for. Because like I said, I've seen, everyone doesn't have the same amount of difficulty with sickle cell. There are different forms of it. And so I'm curious if it's going to be all forms of sickle cell, maybe just the most severe, I would suspect. I'm not sure. But we'll see what it shows. And, I'm excited to see what happens.
Sean Ryan checked in and said, how much CBD does it take to help with sickle cell? I'm doing research on adding it to THC oil.
That kind of varies. So it depends on your level of issues, your exposure to it, how much your body's accustomed to it, what are the stressors in your life that tend to be the issue. But I do recommend that if you're utilizing cannabis to help calm the pain issues that you're experiencing, whether it's periodically or daily, that you also include CBD because it decreases spasticity, inflammation, spasms in your body, emotional, social anxiety. It calms your gut. And so there's also sorts of different ways that CBD can work with your body. How much you use really depends on what your experiences are.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Doc, it has certainly been, our time with you has certainly been well spent. And I'm very, very happy that you brought this up. There's going to be an after chat about this today, correct?
Absolutely. So we'll get into the after chat about both of these subjects, about, pain and music, as well as sickle cell. And we'll also do the healthy relationships only after that, talking about masculine and feminine energy, which are necessary for a healthy relationship.
Okay, Doc. So you
can't say I didn't tell you this time, right? You can't say I didn't tell you.
No, you did tell me, but you're like the medical doctor, the cannabis doctor, and the love doctor.
Oh, jeez. Healthy relationships. Healthy relationships.
Dr. Bridget, MD, y'all follow her on all social media on Dr. Bridget, MD. Y'all can check out the after chat on her IG page. And of course, folks, if you haven't had a chance to pick up a copy of Courage and Cannabis Volume 1 and Volume 2, it is out in stores. It can be ordered from all of your major booksellers. It is a more intensive look at the positive benefits of cannabis use, not coming from Dr. Bridget herself. It's
No,
coming
I have
from
my I throw my 2 cents in there, but it's an anthology of so many different people and their experiences.
There it is right there. So there it is. Make sure y'all support Dr. Bridget on all platforms. And of course, she's here joining us every Monday here on The Culture with Reclaim Your Wellness. Thank you so much, Doc. And thank you for being so good for the culture.
Thank you. Thank you, Farajii.
Absolutely. All right, folks, let me just share with you something, just a little something as we close out today's show. If you have not heard, the U.S. Treasury Department, we were talking about the Treasury Department earlier today, they have come forward to announce that there are going to be some changes that you're going to see on U.S. currency. They have announced that 5 women will be featured on their quarters scheduled to be minted for 2025. The U.S. Mint announced this list will include the legendary tennis and golf star Althea Gibson, as well as NAACP co-founder Ida B. Wells. That's right, Queens on Coins. That's right. We're gonna have Althea Gibson and Ida B. Wells on a. Now this is not a special. This is actually a part. I want to make this very clear. This is not like a special edition, limited edition. These 2 Black women are going to be minted on the currency, on the quarters coming out that's going to be put into production and distributed in 2025. According to the Mint, they have put out a statement that says this. Let's put that statement up there for us, please, Lise. Thank you. It says in the second paragraph, it's a privilege for the Mint to connect America through coins and to tell our nation's story through honoring the women in this amazing program, according to Mint Director Ventress Gibson explained in the statement. The pioneering women we have recognized are among the many in our nation's history who have made significant contributions and championed change in their own unique way. And again, folks, we should see Queens on Coins in 2025, but it's a very, very good look, considering there has been a lot of talk and advocacy around putting more Black folks, especially those freedom fighters, those champions, and more women into circulation on our currency. And it's going to be more than interesting to see how the rest of America is going to take this. Remember, there's been that talk about putting Harriet Tubman on either the $20 bill or some of the currency. So this is interesting. Althea Gibson and Ida B. Wells will be on the 2025 edition of the quarter. And it just goes to show you that we are slowly getting into a different place in Black history and Black America. And it should be pretty dope. So looking forward to that. All right, folks, that's going to be it for today's show. I thank each and every one of you for being a part of the conversation. Big shout out to my online culture crew, always holding me down, always checking in and providing some good insight and providing just some overall great camaraderie as we have these conversations. Make sure y'all get prepared because at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Big Brother Roland Martin is going to be kicking it off with Roland Martin Unfiltered. But before you do that, make sure you join us on our platform at blackstarnetwork.com. blackstarnetwork.com. We are always streaming something that's happening in Black America or across America. It's going to be streamed on Black Star Network. We have the dopest content. We keep you up to date, keep you in the loop about what is happening, things that you don't see on mainstream media. We are streaming it here on Black Star Network. So go to our website today, download the app for free. And of course, your support means everything to us. So anything that you can give to support, empower this movement, please do, because we need your support. And this is the type of network, this is a type of digital space that Black folks can certainly benefit from. So again, go to our website today at blackstarnetwork.com. Follow us on social media at Black Star Network, and let's keep the conversation going. Also, speaking of social media, you can follow me, yours truly, the Real Farajii on Instagram, Farajii on Twitter, Farajii Muhammad on Facebook, and the Real Farajii on Threads. You can find us there. I said Twitter. I meant X. There we go. I meant X. So find me on X, and I would love to connect with you. And let's continue to build as we do each and every day here on this show. That's going to do it for me. As always, never be afraid to challenge what's wrong. Stand for what's right while being yourself in the process. God willing, we will talk tomorrow for another exciting edition of The Culture. Big shout out to my production team for their work today, but we will be back tomorrow, God willing, for another exciting edition of The Culture right here, only here, exclusively here on the Black Star Network. Have a great afternoon and evening. Talk soon. Peace.